Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. All right.
Cool.
Welcome to this podcast is uncalled for.
What's uncalled for about it?
Well, you can't tell anybody this.
I'm listening.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Don't be ashamed to be a supporter of Barack Obama for the next 2 years or for the rest of your lives, because you should be proud of what you've done.
I worship Cthulhu just for the free beer.
But you didn't even give a chance for a wild card spot.
Well, the name of this podcast is Stuff Uncalled For?
This podcast is uncalled for.
Podcast, all right.
Yeah, that was the most ridiculous ending to that game that I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up.
We're looking at each other in the eye. We're not going to say anything derogatory to the other person. And, of course, neither of us is drunk.
Another thing that differentiates Mormonism from Catholicism is I don't hear Pope Francis saying that he's a prophet, seer, and revelator.
This is a disgrace.
Hey, we're getting somewhere.
And now, your host for this podcast, Mike Chernefsky.
Fuji!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I want to say thank you for 500 unique downloads on the podcast. That's just the downloads in terms of listenership. I understand that YouTube numbers are going to be a little different. And apparently on YouTube, the episode with Mark Parton has done extremely well, which is awesome. So I'm recording this today at Panera in Overland Park, and we're going to make this a fun episode today. We're not going to do an AMA because we did that already. We're just going to have some fun. All right, and we're starting with the kid-friendly, the kid-friendly stuff. Excuse me while I drink some agnostic beverage here. So, those of you who are South Park fans will know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to start off with a request from my father. As you may have heard on an episode of the podcast, my niece Penny is in Cub Scouts now. One of the first girls in Cub Scouts, which is pretty darn cool because I was in Cub Scouts, and both my brothers were in Cub Scouts, and heck, I was a Boy Scout even. I was until life, I was a merit badge and an Eagle Project shy of Eagle. And my father was an Eagle. There are many Scout stories I would like to tell, but this isn't really a story. This is one of the songs that we did at summer camp and stuff. I'm not going to sing it today. It's going to be up to my brother, her father, to teach her how to sing it. But I'm at least going to share the lyrics of what we call the special happy birthday. It goes a little something like this. Oh, happy birthday. By the way, the grunts usually gets replaced by woo, but I prefer the grunt. It goes, oh, happy birthday, oh, happy birthday. First one. There is sadness in the air. Campers dying everywhere. But happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday. First two. Easter bunny broke his leg. Blood all over the Easter eggs. But happy birthday. Happy birthday. First three. Santa Claus lost his sleigh. There'll be no games to play. But happy birthday. Happy birthday. And the fourth and most inside verse of them all. Whitey Kugler killed Old Blue out in front of RHQ. But happy birthday. So, Joe, it's going to be up to you to teach your daughter how the song actually goes. All right? I'm not going to do that for you. I'm not a babysitter. Everything. I'm just teaching you the lyrics. And you can go from there. All right? So we're going to take a brief pause right here. For those of you listening on the podcast itself, you'll be hearing one of the songs that I wrote in college. At this point, it's called Laura. So I'm going to take a brief pause, and we'll be right back with a top 10 list. And we're back. So, I have a couple of top 10 lists that I want to get on the podcast for season 2. And because it is a podcast, let's do a top 10 podcasts. I'm intentionally excluding any podcasts that I've done. So please bear with me. That's really going to be agnostic beverage here. So top 10 podcasts in no particular order. Number 1 is The Well, which is a podcast on creativity and inspiration. One of the co-hosts is Anson Mount, who plays Captain Christopher Pike in Star Trek Discovery. A couple of the episodes I would strongly recommend actually do include Star Trek actors. He interviewed Ethan Peck, who plays Spock, and Doug Jones, who plays Saru. Has made a career of playing creature characters. For the football fans out there, he also interviewed June Jones, who at the time was just the former head coach at University of Hawaii, but is currently, as of this recording, the head coach of the Houston XFL team. If there are any XFL fans in the audience, go St. Louis Battlehawks. Which is a cool name. But I think their best episode is titled Martini Samurai, and it gives a pretty good indication of what Christopher Pike would sound like drunk. On the Star Trek theme, number 2 on my list is Mission Log podcast, which is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, and they actually go and watch every single episode of Star Trek ever made. I believe they're in season 3 of DS9 right now, and they try to find any special meaning in the different episodes, which I find pretty interesting, and they have a very entertaining take on it, and it makes me want to rewatch those particular episodes. Yeah. Can't wait for them to get to Voyager, and what's the meaning of turning into a lizard and having lizard babies. Number 3 on my list is the First Team podcast, which is specifically a New York Cosmos podcast. But I strongly suggest it, especially if you're hashtag ProRel for USA, because they do talk about ProRel and the need for reform in U.S. soccer. And also some of the changes going on throughout U.S. soccer, like NISA, everything, but still pretty Cosmos-centric. It's still a good podcast. Number 4 on my list is the Nature's Living Show, which has been going on 10 years now. It originates out of Canada, and is a great repository of naked culture. Number 5 is Bernie and Randy. This is out of St. Louis. It's another sports podcast. It's Bernie Miklasz, Randy Karraker, which they started just about the same time that Senor Stan was conspiring to move the football team to LA. And is actually the origin of one of my favorite takedowns of idiots, which is basically don't vote, don't drive, don't procreate, because you're impossibly stupid. Number 6 is Heart of the Matter 1.0 on Mormonism, which is actually the audio of a TV show that you can still find on YouTube. It's a call-in show out of Salt Lake City. The host, Sean McCraney, is a ex-Mormon turned born-again Christian minister. And my understanding is he has returned to the topic of Mormonism on the show. But this is an interesting program, especially the call-in segments, and especially when he gets calls from Latter-day Saints, which originated another favorite quote of mine. Quote, "I have to tell you, and I say this respectfully, you're insane." Number 7, this is a local show. It's called Radioactive Sports. My friend Justin Pemberton is the host, and it is about sports. This is actually a radio show that has its own podcast feed. Everything by strongly recommend. It's how I came to know Justin when I went back to school. Justin and I were paired together. I would do the camera work and everything. He'd put together the story, and I'd go and shoot with him and edit with him. And one of the first things we did together was actually sports related. We interviewed the then head football coach at Blue Valley High School, which was Justin's alma mater. That coach has since passed away, sadly. But it was still a pretty cool experience, and Justin and I still talk on Facebook about certain sports stories, and he's very well aware of my thoughts on the whole NFL thing. Speaking of the NFL, number 8, the Tony Kornheiser Show, which, granted, I haven't listened to in quite a long time, certainly not since the whole LA debacle, because Mr. Tony was sadly in the pro Stan camp, but there's a lot of funny stuff on that podcast that has absolutely nothing to do with sports, such as the idea of a worldwide animal revolution, where the animals are fighting back and everyone has a rat in their mouth. This is also the show that's where we blame everything on Adam Archuleta. So number 9 on my list is one I've only listened to one episode of, but it's also local and it also involves a friend of mine. This is Wednesday night drinking practice, produced by my good friend Mr. Clint Hoffmeyer. On this podcast, he and another co-host, they interview local musicians and everything. And the one episode I did listen to, he interviewed my friend, the late Dave Barry, who, in addition to being a independent filmmaker, was also a musician. So definitely worth a listen, especially the Dave episode. And number 10 on my list, we really should be nicer to Mr. Clayton, because this is actually his podcast. It's called Radio Free Burrito. And the best way to describe it is a stream of consciousness thing. So he'll just talk and keep talking and and intersplice some music once in a while. Definitely worth a listen. So I'm going to take another break, and I'll be right back. I don't know what the music is for this one yet, but if you're listening to this on the podcast, you'll hear a musical break. So give me a couple minutes, and I'll be back.
a local cinema night. Brickfield night. We always meet up and sing at the same time. Nights spent kicking around the football. We got our ignitions on the football. Remember the Brickfield night. Remember the Brickfield night. It's been so long. Those days are gone. That night, the Brickfield. On the summer night, like a sauna, we always met by the corner lights. Brickfield nights, come on. When the girls came with the long hair, high heels and the makeup never quite right. Brickfield nights, University, yeah. We always meet up and take the same time. Got to take down a long cool dance hall. Take out our initials on the school wall. Remember the Brickfield night. Remember the Brickfield night. It's been so long. Those days are gone. That night, now Brickfield. The Brickfield night. Remember the Brickfield fight. It's been so long. Those days are gone. That night, now Brickfield.
All right, so next I'm just going to answer some random questions. So the randomizer I'm using can be found at www.randomlists.com/questions, and is randomly selected 12 questions for me to answer. So here we go. Question number 1. Where is the furthest you've driven? 2008, from Houston back to Kansas City in a car that is currently just sitting in our front driveway, which belongs to my grandmother. That's a good 13-mile drive. So that drive went from Houston. Actually, I flew to Houston that day. The morning before. I'm sorry. Flew to Houston. Picked up the car. Then drove all day, about 8 hours, up I-45 into Dallas. Stopped for lunch at a local Chipotle. Then drove from Dallas up US 75, I believe it is. Somehow got lost and found my way onto the Indian Nation's Turnpike. Speed limit 95 miles an hour. And found my way to Tulsa, where I stayed overnight, and that was the first time I got to see my brother's first house with his now wife. They were, that was over 10 years ago. Now that trip happened, and they've been happily married since. And then the very next day, Tulsa back to Kansas City, and as far as getting my actual car back from the airports, I touched on that with Matt Sewell. I asked Matt, hey, could you come and give me a ride to the airport? He said, yeah, no problem. And that's how it happened. Question number 2. Would you like better, Microsoft or Apple? Apple, of course. I'm doing this on Apple equipment, and being a media person, it's just easier to work with Apple. Number 3, do you like bugs? No. Number 4, have you ever had bad sunburn all the time? All the time. Number 5, have you ever hitchhiked? No. No, and I don't suggest anyone ever try. So. Number 6, would you like better, ninja or pirates? First of all, whoever put this question together, the plural of ninja is ninja, not ninjas. For the same reason, the plural of Pikachu is Pikachu, because it's a Japanese word and there's really no plurals in Japanese. So, and if you ask me to pick between those two specifically, ninja. Come on, because they're ninja. Then again, there is a game that we is on my top 10 board games list, and we did play through on this podcast, where you can play with ninja mixed with pirates. So, number 7, have you ever ran a race? Well, I did do cross country and track in high school, and close to a month ago, I participated in a charity walk for lung cancer awareness, both in memory of Dave Barry and to support my old football coach, Steve Shelton, who was organizing a team, and was more than happy to participate. By the way, if there are any Vikings football players on here, please plan on participating next year. So, same is true of the film community. Number 8, do you like ice in your drinks? Number 9, if you could become invisible, what would you do? I never give it that much thought, so I'll just leave that one alone. Number 10, have you ever burnt your hair? What do you think? I don't have... Number 11, what is your favorite hair color? Well, they say gentlemen do prefer blondes. So. And number 12, what is your favorite drink? I am currently drinking an agnostic beverage, better known as Dr. Pepper. But I'm open to just about any beverage that's out there, within reason. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for the live stream. Keep an eye out for top 10 movies, which will be coming up in season 2 as well, at some point. And I'll end the season with another stories you might otherwise not hear. So with all that out of the way, I'll go ahead and sign off now. So thank y'all so much for watching. If you're watching on the live stream, thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on the podcast, and we will see you soon. This podcast is Uncalled For, is hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Chernevsky. Opening music is Fantasia by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Outro music is Samurai Spirits by The Kyoto Connection under an Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 2.5 Argentina license. Please check out their websites at www.thekyotoconnection.com. Additional music included Laura by Mike Chernevsky and Brookfield Nights, performed by Duncan Reed and the Big Heads, licensed under Creative Commons by attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives, 4.0 license.
The samurai spirit is having no more fear of the dark. He's feeling that you can reach anything that you want. The sea on my face, I breathe the air. I feel alone for everybody's around. You see me, but my spirit far away from here. The future is here, it always been here, and I still living on this every life. But I need more time, I've opened my mind. The future is here, it always been here, and I still living on this every life. But I need more time, I've opened my mind.
If you would like to support this podcast or any of Mike's other creative endeavors, please consider making a donation at patreon.com/Mike Chernevsky. That's MikeCzerniewski. Donations over $5 will receive a special thanks on a future podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.